I am Dr. Angela Grace, PhD registered psychologist and former teacher in Alberta. I was a farm girl raised in rural Alberta. I acknowledge that I'm a fourth generation settler on Treaty 7 territory. I acknowledge this beautiful land that we live on, Treaty 7 and Treaty 6 territories, the home of many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people who still reside on and care for our land. I am doing this in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, in the hopes of creating a fair and just world. As you know, there is a new 2021 Alberta Draft Curriculum that has come out the end of March 2021. There are many debates, many arguments, many discussions about it, and the Minister of Education has called for the public to provide rich feedback in order to move this curriculum forward. So I'm Canadian, I love Rick Mercer. Get ready for my Rick Mercer rant on the 2021 Draft Alberta Curriculum. So in 2008, the PC government set out a new ministerial order to start a new curriculum. Of course we need a new curriculum. It needed to be updated. Nobody needs to learn what I learned in the 70s and 80s. Let's start fresh. So they collaborated with the ATA, teachers, educational experts, and put out a call for Albertans to provide input into what needs to be put in the new draft curriculum. Over 35,000 Albertans had their say, and the draft curriculum was started. It was a process over several years. In 2016, the NDP government took over and carried on the process. Again, engaging the ATA, engaging teachers, educational experts, community partners, and anyone who needed to have a say in the curriculum. So thousands of people had this curriculum. I was part of that curriculum community partnership, and in 2017, I didn't care what the government was in charge. I just wanted to do the right things for our kids. So I focused on the wellness curriculum because that's my area of expertise. So in 2017, I stood up and said, this draft curriculum has an eating disorder. It's focused on nutrition, there's focus on fitness, and we need to change this to ensure the health and well-being of our children. This curriculum needs to be focused on comprehensive school health. Guess what? They listened. When we went back to review the curriculum in 2018, it was beautiful. Collaborative, expertise, everything was extraordinarily well done. There was scaffolding, it was based on educational best practices. We were excited, it was ready to go, ready to be piloted, ready to roll out in classrooms in 2019. By the way, that curriculum was K-4, not K-6, so there was still work to do on the remainder of the curriculum. Hold on to your hats. In 2019, the UCP government came into play. Part of their campaign promise was they were going to throw out the NDP government draft curriculum and create their own based on essential knowledge and skills. Wait a minute, this curriculum in 2018 was nonpartisan. We didn't care who was in charge. This government, the UCP government, said that this draft needed to be thrown out because there was too much NDP in the social studies curriculum. That seemed really strange to me. The other thing that Jason Kenney did was remove the word public from education. What is the hidden agenda there? Oh well, we don't know. That's behind closed doors. So let's move on. Right? Worldwide pandemic. Schools are shut down, teachers are stressed out of their heads, parents are stressed out of their heads, kids don't know what's going on, they're in and out of school since March 2020. Nobody knows what's happening. There's also a new shutdown coming down, so who knows what's going on. The Friday before Easter, when teachers can finally take a breath of fresh air, have a little break, kids can have a little bit of a rest. The UCP government, the Minister of Education, puts out a 2021 new draft curriculum right before Easter. So I knew I was going to be reviewing this. I knew I was going to take a look because I'm an educator. This is what I do. I care about our children. I care about our teachers. So I had my nice little Easter weekend. Right after Easter weekend, I probably drove my family crazy by spending 50 hours in 3 days reviewing a very small part of the wellness curriculum, looking for anything related to comprehensive school health. Guess what? Everything that was done in the 2017-18 draft was completely gone. What I saw was Americanized. What I saw was First Nation, Métis, and Inuit tacked on as extra little things just to tick a box. I saw nothing that was scaffolding, nothing that was educational best practices. There was nothing in this curriculum that matched anything of what educators know what to do. So let's look at this 2019 draft. Everything was thrown out previously, and Jason Kenney appointed 12 UCP appointed educational experts to review this new draft that was coming out. He also appointed 7 additional, so there were 19 individuals have reviewed and taken the place of over 35,000 Albertans, educational experts, teachers in the ATA that wrote the previous draft. 19 individuals. I had conversations with a couple of them. They didn't actually write the draft. Somebody wrote the draft that they reviewed. An unidentified individual or group of individuals, because this is not a transparent process. We don't know who put these words to paper. What we do know is that it's plagiarized. A lot of it is plagiarized. Some of it is quoted directly from Wikipedia. Why is there so much American content? Why are 2 of our territories excluded from the content? Why are there so many errors in this? Who actually wrote this document? So, almost overnight, parents put together an Albertans Reject the Curriculum Facebook group where people can rant, people can express their concerns. It's actually quite humorous, some of the things that are coming up, like why do kindergarten kids need to know what celebrity was born on their birthday? Why do grade 1 students need to know what foods are healthy and unhealthy? Why on earth are we learning about Genghis Khan? Why was the history section, why was social studies based on history, European and American history, and not our very own Canadian history? There's no First Nation, Métis, and Inuit content. Or no, that's not true. There is some content, but it's tacked on like, oh, we checked off a little box. There's barely any Francophone content. There were no Francophone experts, to my knowledge, that were involved in the writing of this curriculum. So parents are looking at the content, saying there is way too much content, it's bizarre, it doesn't make any sense. Then educational experts like myself started to review the curriculum. There are pages and pages and documents upon documents in the Alberta Curriculum Analysis website written by experts saying this curriculum is not appropriate for our children. So beyond the initial problems with the too much content, bizarre content, everything laid out in a very unscaffolded, unscientific, unresearched basis, it's just bizarre. It's not based in educational foundation. It is not based on best practices. It doesn't even follow what the Alberta Education website says that the curriculum should follow. It's extraordinarily concerning. So, let's talk about this. The Minister of Education has requested rich feedback until the spring of 2022 on this curriculum. There's a survey that people can take to provide their feedback. I filled out the survey from my initial review. Oh, by the way, I provided a 14-page review of the wellness curriculum, identifying that this curriculum is boring. It is going to cause low self-esteem. It is going to be frustrating. Kids are going to be bored out of their skulls. It is not scaffolded. It's pure memorization, and it's all because it's also not based in comprehensive school health. There is a risk of kids developing depression, test anxiety over the multitude of content, and eating disorders, because if kids start judging their bodies, weighing themselves, and identifying foods as healthy or unhealthy, as well as creating fitness goals in kindergarten, grade 1 and 2, that is setting them up for eating disorders. That's my area. That's another rant on its own. So let's look at the Education Minister's request for rich feedback. Over 40,000 Albertans in the Albertans Reject Their Curriculum Facebook group say no. Our deans of education and educational experts who have written reviews on the Alberta Curriculum Analysis website say no. Let's see, who else has said no? The ATA has requested a moratorium on this draft. The ATA, representing all of the thousands of teachers in Alberta, say no. There is a very clear no to this draft. We'll get back to that in a second. Let's talk about the rich feedback. So I've provided rich feedback. I completed the survey. I have written my MLA. I've written the Minister of Education. And what we're getting is, there may be revisions to this draft. The UCP have full intentions of rolling out this draft, even though thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Albertans have said no. In my personal and educated opinion, this 2021 UCP Draft Curriculum is a turd. Any feedback provided to the Minister of Education on the minutiae content of this curriculum is simply putting glitter on a turd. Do we really want that for our children? Let's cover up the truth with some glitter. Everything will be happy then. What this government doesn't seem to understand is that this curriculum is going to far outlast any person or party in power. This curriculum is going to impact children for the next 7 generations. It may not be the curriculum for the next 70 years, but what we do now impacts the next 7 generations of what we do. There's another thing. In one review that I read from a First Nation, Métis, Inuit knowledge keeper, he described this curriculum as residential schools 2.0. It is based in white, European, and American history. It is not based in truth and reconciliation. It is pure colonialism, and it is a travesty. So if you're in support of this curriculum and you want your child to be a white Christian business person, then go for it. Oh, let's talk about the Christianity portion of it. Declaring Christianity as the primary religion in Alberta, that's fine, but does that belong in our public schools? It is disrespectful of every other culture, every other religion. It is going to teach our children to other people. It is not going to bring people together in any way, shape, or form. This curriculum is a travesty. But let's carry on from that. So let's talk about consent. The UCP is very proud to have consent included in their curriculum. However, the way they describe consent is actually very victim blaming, in stating that the victim needs to make a very clear and direct no. Children have a hard time standing up to people in power, so it's great to teach them how to say no. But guess what? I was already doing that in the 90s. Every other teacher that I know of has actually been teaching kids consent, that they can respect their own bodies, that no means no, there can be an enthusiastic yes. So let's think about this. Minister of Education and leader of the UCP. Albertans reject the curriculum. Facebook group have said no. The ATA has said no. 58 out of 61 school boards have said no. The deans of education, educational experts have said no. First Nation, Métis, and Inuit have said no. The Francophone schools have said no. I speak on behalf of all the children who are going to be bored out of their minds, not understand this curriculum. I say no on the behalf of the people who cannot speak for themselves. So, I don't recall consent saying when a person says no, that the person in power coerces them, gets all their buddies together to convince them that it's a good idea. I don't recall that being part of consent. No means no. And on behalf of the Albertans and the children of our future who are not even born yet, I make a clear and direct no. There needs to be a moratorium on this draft, handed back to the ATA, the teachers, and the educational experts who actually know what they're doing and care about our children. Depoliticize this draft, and remember that no means no, and your power